have a quorum? Quorum being present, this special town meeting shall now come to order. We have a return of the warrant by Constable Adam Loomis. I would entertain a motion to adjourn so that we may open the annual town meeting. Motion. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. A quorum being present, this annual town meeting shall now come to order. We have a return of the warrant by Constable Adam Loomis. As required by Massachusetts law, the Chief of the Fire Department, Scott Duffy, asked that I point out the exits from the auditorium in case of an emergency, where you came in, to my left and to my right. Now, would everyone please stand? We're going to have a salute to the flag, the invocation, and a moment of silence for our deceased town employees and officials. And I'll now call on Veterans Agent Vincent Fontaine to lead us in the salute to the flag. Mr. Fontaine. I'd like to call on Reverend Jay Witham of the First Baptist Church in Rockland to come forward and give the invocation. And then please remain standing.
Thank you, Kevin. As a resident of Rockland and a member of the clergy here in the community, I always find it an honor to take part in these meetings and to participate. And I'm just so thankful that we can acknowledge the God that we just mentioned in that pledge of the allegiance, one nation under God. Just a few days ago, I participated in an observation of the National Day of Prayer. We prayed for our community, prayed for our elected leaders, prayed for our schools, our churches, for one another in our communities. Let's now bow our heads, and if you join with me, we'll ask God's blessing on this meeting. Our Father in heaven, as we come into your presence tonight, we're so thankful that you've allowed us to live in a land where we can have these open meetings, public forums, where we can express our opinions, vote our conscience, conduct the business of our communities without fear of retribution. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity and privilege that you've given us to take part in this meeting tonight. We ask your wisdom for our elected leaders and for those who are running these meetings tonight. We pray even as we express our opinions, even if we have differences of opinions, that we respect one another and uphold your holy laws in so doing. We ask it in Jesus' precious, holy and matchless name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. And now, in memoriam of our residents that have passed on in 2018 and up to a few days ago, Joseph Bouchard, Mary Lou Boyle, Carol Cahill, Henry Savels, Patrick Irwin, James Kasnick, Constant Keys, Elizabeth Ann Kimball, John Martin, Patricia Phillips, Mary Qualter, Paul Ryan, and Paul Ryan was the town moderator back in the 60s and early 70s, Marie Tilden, Richard Walls, Jean Barkow, Mary Ann Savels, who passed away a few days ago, Edward Gibler, Beverly Ladner, Sally Jackson, Josephine Driscoll, and Diane Huzzy. Thank you. Please be seated. The special town meeting and the annual town meeting are being videotaped by WRPS. I would ask if there are any non-registered voters, I know there are some here, if there are anybody who have to sit to my left in the front rows where the yellow tape is. I'd like to welcome everyone for coming here tonight. I know there's some sports games on, everybody's interested in, but unfortunately, you never know who's going to make it to the playoffs each year. Article 29 of the 2013 annual town meeting reduced the quorum to open town meeting to 150 voters, with only 50 voters registered to be present at this session or any adjourned session, which was approved by the Attorney General on July 26, 2013. If you wish to speak on an article, please raise your hand. When I recognize you, please come to one of the two microphones down front, state your name and address before speaking. Each speaker will be allowed up to 5 minutes when speaking on a budget item or article which is being acted upon. No speaker who has previously spoken on the same budget item or article will be recognized until all others who wish to speak have had their opportunity. Now I'd like to recognize the people that are on stage. To my immediate left, Donna Shortall, our town clerk, Serena Amaral, our assistant town accountant, our interim town administrator, James Purcell, John Clifford, our town council, and I know somewhere Attorney Christopher Kenny is representing the Land Use Council tonight. I'm not sure in the audience if State Senator John Keenan and State Representative Dave DeCosta are here, but if you are, please stand up. Now, I'd like to call on Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Larry Ryan, who's going to introduce some of our new people, and he has some words to talk about regarding our great town of Rockland.
There you go. They even wrote me out a speech to say tonight, so. Good evening, everybody.
Can we have that microphone turned up?
Hello. Hello. Okay, welcome to the May 6th, 2019 special and annual town meeting. I'm Larry Ryan. I live at 121 Concord Street. I'm chairman of the Board of Selectmen. I'd like to start tonight by acknowledging that this past year has been a challenging one for the town in many regards. Through it all, our town leaders, department heads, and the folks who serve on many of the volunteer committees and boards have worked tirelessly to ensure that Rockland remains on the right path and has not allowed the significant progress we've made on everything from town finances to excellence in our public schools to the build-up of our business community to be deterred in any way. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I would like to recognize those people that have put in the long hours and shown their dedication to the town time and time again. Thank you for all that you've done and continue to do for the town of Rockland. Last December, the Board of Selectmen had a goal, and that was by town meeting to have all new people in place. And thanks to our continued hard work, I'm pleased to report that the numerous steps our town government and citizens have taken to ensure the long-term prosperity and progress of our town. Just last week, after extensive and thorough search that included vital input from residents, the Board of Selectmen chose Douglas Lapp to serve as Rockland's new town administrator. We signed his contract tonight, and copies will be available sometime after tomorrow. Mr. Lapp is current assistant town manager of the town of Sandwich and has nearly 30 years' experience in public policy and administration. The selectmen believe he will do a tremendous job as Rockland's new town administrator, and we look forward to seeing what his wealth of experience and knowledge can bring to our town. In addition, last month we hired Jennifer Barati Constable from Hull to serve as our assistant town administrator. Jennifer is currently completing a three-year term as a member of the Board of Selectmen in Hull. She has also worked with the State Department of Housing and Community Development. Jennifer's intelligence, work ethic, and combination of professional experience at the state and municipal level will be invaluable to our community. The town also hired Elizabeth Zelensky as our new town accountant. Ms. Zelensky works in Winthrop right now as the budget and finance manager for that town. She has also worked in the accounting departments in Raynham and Abington. She has been a certified governmental accountant since 2010, is an active member of the Municipal Accountants and Advisors Association. Okay. In January, Rockland voters showed up in droves to help us out. It was one of the proudest moments I ever had, or any of the Board of Selectmen ever had in our lives, when the people of town of Rockland came out and supported us, never raised any questions, believed everything we had to say, and And quite frankly, I've been around since 1996, and that was my proudest moment. All these, let's see, what else was I going to say here? All I can say is that building a better Rockland, all of these things are major steps of making sure that Rockland remains in position to prosper. We are really, we lost a little bit of the ship, but the ship is righted, going forward, and thank everybody for coming out tonight, and thank you for the Board of Selectmen and all the people that helped us make the changes that we needed to make in our town so that we can make sure that Rockland is the greatest place to come and work and raise a family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now I'd like to introduce the newly elected officials, elected on April 13, 2019. Selectmen Larry Ryan and Rich Penny. Board of Assessors Diane Molyneux. Health Board member Scott Margolis. Housing Authority member John Conway. Library trustees Janet Kahn and Carol Mahoney. Park Commissioner Richard Furlong. Planning Board Randolph Hoblazel. School Committee members Richard Phelps and Emily Harrison. Sewer Commissioner Steve Savicki and Water Commissioner Robert Coggs Jr. Now I'd like to introduce the Finance Committee and the Capital Planning Committee, and please hold your applause until I read all the names. John Pumphrey is the chairman, Robert McDonald, the vice chairman, Julia Schaefer, the secretary, Laurie Childs, Craig Maroney, Sheila Mulcahy, William Principe, Mark Pulsifer, Daniel Ryan, William Stewart, Joseph Gambone, who also serves on the Capital Planning Committee, is the Finance Committee's representative, along with Ken Tocci. And the Capital Planning Committee, Lauren Hanson, Richard Harris, who's the chairman, Brian Hughes, and Doug Wallow. Ladies and gentlemen, they deserve a round of applause for all their hard work. The citizens of Rockland should be proud of the hard work that the Finance Committee has done to prepare the fiscal budget prior to the town meeting, so that the voters have the correct and concise information as we progress through town meeting. The members of the Capital Planning Committee review articles for capital expenditures over $50,000 and a useful life for at least 5 years, with an inclusion in a 5-year capital improvement plan. Having this plan and a stabilization fund continues to help pave the way for Rockland to improve the financial rating and bonding status. Rockland's bond rating is at one of the highest levels, which allows us to save money on interest payments. The Finance Committee, along with the Town Accountant's Office, the interim town administrators, the Board of Selectmen, and all the department heads have worked very hard this year for the best interests of our town. I would now ask my tellers to come forward to be sworn in. Mary Ryan, Liza Landy, and Thomas Henderson. Now, I'm going to call on Finance Committee John Pumphrey to say some words about how they came to this year's plans.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is John Pumphrey. I live at 325 Howard Street, and I am your Finance Committee Chairman. I want to start this evening by thanking all the volunteers for the town of Rockland. Collectively, the volunteer boards, committees, including our selectmen, have dedicated well over 1,000 hours this past year to administer to the needs of the town, especially during the challenging times. They are to be commended for their efforts. I also want to thank the department heads and all the town employees for rallying around the needs of the town throughout the year and executing their roles, including staying within their budget for fiscal 19. We appreciate that. Lastly, I want to give a special thank out to our Assistant Town Accountant, Serena, our interim town accountants, Eric, there you go. Our interim town accountants, Eric and John. Our interim town administrators, Marcy, I don't think Marcy's here tonight, and Jim, as well as the members of the Finance Committee. Thank you, everyone. The Finance Committee and the Capital Planning Board, you all went well above and beyond in helping the town maintain a balanced budget in fiscal year 19 and putting forth a solid budget and a town warrant for the coming year. In fiscal 19, the Rockland Finance Committee met at least monthly to review our department needs, including transfer requests. And over the last couple of months, we meet almost weekly. And we meet with each department head to review the line items, the individual line items of their individual budgets, as well as all the article requests for fiscal 20 in order to prepare for the warrant for the town meeting. The Finance Committee is charged with being the stewards of the town's finances, and the town's budget and warrant is our primary responsibility. Although not every department received everything that they asked for, we submit this evening for the townspeople to vote on an operational budget that allows all departments to continue to provide the services at current levels for all residents. In addition, we have reviewed, deliberated within our committee, and voted on articles that require the Finance Committee recommendation. Again, not every department received everything that they asked for, but we believe that those articles that were recommended represent the priorities for the town and are worthy of your review and your support this evening. And with that, Mr. Moderator, I turn the floor back to you.
Thank you, Chairman Pumphrey. I would now entertain a motion to adjourn the annual town meeting for the purpose of returning to the special town meeting. Motion. Second. Motion, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. The quorum being present, I will now call the special town meeting to order. The chair recognizes Chairman Pumphrey.
Mr. Moderator, I would like to make a motion that the first action on each article will be on the Finance Committee recommendation.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor of the motion signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote.
Mr. Moderator, I would make a motion to take all articles in the order in which they are printed.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Thank you. Now, special town meeting, article number 1. Will the town vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $600,000 for reducing the snow and ice deficit or take any other action relative thereto? The emergency was major winter storms. Finance Committee recommends funding $157,000 from overlay surplus and $443,000 from free cash. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 2, will the town vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $25,000 to legal services or take any other action relative thereto? The town is in emergency. The town has incurred unanticipated legal expenses, including insurance deductibles related to personnel matters that occurred beginning in May of 2018. There have also been unanticipated legal costs incurred related to zoning matters and marijuana permitting. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 3, will the town vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $250,000 to fund the payout of contractually obligated accumulated leave time or take any other actions relative thereto? The emergency of buyout employees in accumulated leave time for contractual negotiations must be paid in the current fiscal year. The Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting the article signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 4, will the town vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $35,000 to fund the payout of employees' contract obligations and take any other action relative thereto? The new ASME Local 93, formerly the Wright Union Clerical Employees, contractual retroactive payments must be paid in the current fiscal year. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 5, and this is going to require a 2/3 vote. I'd like to try and get it unanimous. Will the town vote to appropriate the sum of $200,000 costs incidental or related thereto, that to meet said appropriation, the town treasurer, with the approval of the board of selectmen, is authorized to borrow said sum under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, or take any other enabling authority, and that the board of selectmen and any other town official is authorized to take any action necessary to carry out this vote. Any premium received upon the sale of bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends from borrowing. I'd like to get unanimous. And also, the Capital Planning Committee recommended this as part of their capital plan. All those in favor of adopting Article 5, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Article number 6, will the town vote to transfer from available funds a sum of $17,000 for the purchase of 3 40-yard roll-off containers for the recycling center located at 1000 Beach Street, and taking action relative thereto. The Rockland Board of Health currently rents dumpsters totaling $3,000 a year. The purchase of these dumpsters would save the town money because they plan on using these for 25 to 30 years. I know that's not in there, but I got the information today, so you'd have that. The Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting the article, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 7. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds a sum of $85,000 to fund an unanticipated increase in homeless transportation costs or take any other action relative thereto? I call on Jill Maroney, the chairman of the school committee. This article and the next two need an emergency so that by town charter, and I'm going to have her amend the article to include that.
Hi, I'm Jill Maroney, 384 Plain Street. I am your chairman of the school committee. Mr. Moderator, I make a motion to amend the Article 7 to include the emergency. The emergency, during the course of the current year, we become responsible for transporting 10 additional homeless students, increasing our project homeless transportation costs from our original appropriation of $50,000 to over $150,000 for the year.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the amendment. All those in favor of adopting the amendment signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. All those in favor of adopting Article 7, Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 8, will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds a sum of $65,000 to fund the cost of replacing the hot water tank at the high school and Eston School, or take any other action relative thereto? Jill?
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion to amend Article 8 to include the emergency. The emergency is 2 hot water tanks expectantly failed, needing repair and replacement immediately to address health and safety concerns.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the amendment. All those in favor of adopting the amendment signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Now, all those in favor of adopting Article 8, with the Finance Committee recommending funding from free cash in the amount of $65,000, signify with a show of hands. All those vote in favor. All those opposed, that's a vote. Well, I'm already tongue-tied. Article number 9, will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds a sum of $300,000 to fund the cost of unanticipated special education costs or take any other action relative thereto? Jill?
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion to amend Article 9 to include the emergency. The emergency is during the course of the current year, our district placement costs for special education increased from our budgeted $2,479,513 to $2,781,134 due to unexpected move-ins requiring placement in specialized facilities.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the amendment. All those in favor of adopting the amendment signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. We're going to now vote on Article 9 as amended, funding from free cash in the amount of $300,000. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Thank you, Jill. Article number 10, Will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds a sum of $28,000 to cover unanticipated equipment costs to fire apparatus? The emergency, each fire engine is equipped with an emergency generator which provides electrical power at emergency scenes. Two of these generators unexpectedly broke down and needed to be replaced at a cost of $14,000 per generator. These repairs, in addition to other unexpected apparatus repairs, have caused a deficit in the department's equipment maintenance budget. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 10, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. I'd entertain a motion to dissolve the special town meeting. Motion. I have a motion and a second to dissolve the special town meeting. All those in favor, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. The quorum is present. I will now call the annual town meeting to order, and I will again recognize Chairman Pumphrey for Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion that the first action on each budget and each article will be on the Finance Committee recommendation.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of all those opposed, that's a vote.
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion to take all articles in the order in which they are printed.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote.
Mr. Moderator, I'll make a motion to reconvene this meeting on Tuesday night, May 7th, 2019, at 7:30 p.m. in this same auditorium if needed.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Now, we'll go to the regular town meeting. Article number 1, will the town vote to transfer from undesignated fund balance the sum of money to be transferred to the stabilization fund or take any other action relative thereto? Chair recognizes Mr. Pumphrey.
Mr. Moderator, prior to tonight's meeting, the Finance Committee met and we have amended Article 1. That stabilization fund would be, it would be a total of $75,000 with $22,000 coming from free cash and $53,000 coming from the fiscal year 19 reserve funds. The reason we're doing this is to free up some money for future articles that are needed to help preserve the community center.
I have a motion and a second to put $75,000 to be transferred into the stabilization fund, $22,000 from free cash, and, $53,000, John,
From the fiscal year 19 reserve fund.
from the fiscal year 19. All those in favor of adopting Article 1, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 2, we did that on April 13th, on the election. Article 3, will the town vote to fix the salaries and compensation of all elected officers for the town in the amount indicated in the department budgets and make such salaries and compensation effective July 1st, 2019, in accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41, Section 108, as amended, and to raise and appropriate such sums of money for the ensuing year, and that all sums be appropriated for the specific purpose designated, and that the same be expended on for such boards and commissions of the town as voted or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends as presented. All those in favor of adopting Article 3, signify by the show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Now, I think in your book, the budget is at the back of your book, the fiscal budget for 2020. There should be 7 pages of it, in small print. I had to go buy some glasses that are more powerful today. Of course not. Okay, we're ready. Total Board of Selectmen raise and appropriate $422,700. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total legal services raise and appropriate $200,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total building maintenance raise and appropriate $82,300. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total town reports, raise and appropriate, $8,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total utilities, general government, raise and appropriate, $415,700. All those in favor, signify by show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total traffic control, raise and appropriate, $20,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total finance committee, raise and appropriate, $202,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total town accountant, raise and appropriate, $200,900. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total assessors, raise and appropriate, $187,793. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total revaluation, raise and appropriate, $43,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total treasurer, raise and appropriate, $234,767. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total data processing, raise and appropriate, $268,683. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total audit, raise and appropriate, $51,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total town collector, raise and appropriate, $180,259. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Okay, town clerk, we're gonna take two votes. Because we have, Dawn, it actually should say Dawn receipts fund. So, we're gonna take $5,000 and add it, take it away, we're gonna add that to the, bottom line of the town clerk. All those in favor of adding $5,000, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. So the total town clerk raise and appropriate will be $176,488. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Town meeting elections, raise and appropriate, $27,884. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total registrar voters, raise and appropriate, $9,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total conservation commission, raise and appropriate, $500. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total planning board, raise and appropriate, $5,225. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total zoning board, raise and appropriate, $5,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Again, this is the police department budget. We're gonna add $10,000, which comes off their total from the transfer from the dog fund. All those in favor of using $10,000 to be transferred from the dog fund, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total police department, raise and appropriate, $3,908,701. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total fire department budget, $3,705,171.04. All those in favor of adopting that? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total dispatch, raise and appropriate, is $359,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total building department, raise and appropriate, $171,166. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total gas inspector, raise and appropriate, $6,195. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total plumbing inspector, raise and appropriate, $10,522. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total weights and measures, raise and appropriate, $5,950. and appropriate $150,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total snow and ice control, raise and appropriate $150,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total waste collection. Both the bottom line, $1,491,816.10. All those in favor, signify by the show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total water department, raise and appropriate for water receipts, $3,292,770.65. All those in favor? All those opposed, that's a vote. Sewer department. We have to take two votes on this. We're gonna take $40,000 from sewer fund balance. All those in favor of taking $40,000 from sewer fund balance, signify by the show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. The total sewer department raise and appropriate, it should say from sewer receipts, $2,537,897. All those in favor? All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Board of Health raise and appropriate, $111,132.15. All those in favor of adopting, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total visiting nurse raise and appropriate, $10,599.76. All those in favor? All those opposed, that's a vote. Council on Aging, which is going to be raised and appropriate, $251,001. I you should have just made $251,001. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Youth Commission raised and appropriate, $125,400. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Veteran Services, raised and appropriate, $404,775. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Celebrations, raised and appropriate, $3,150. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Library, raised and appropriate, $625,302. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Park Department, raised and appropriate, $358,353. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Historical Commission, $400. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's a vote. Okay. We're going to have two votes on this, on the total interest and maturing debt. First is going to be less reserve bond premiums, fund balance reserve bond premiums, $89,371.18. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total interest and maturing debt raised and appropriate, $4,273,422.58. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total retirement contributions raised and appropriate, $3,619,876. All those in favor? Up, and 80 cents. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Okay. We're going to have, we're going to amend a line item in this health insurance. We're going to have a health insurance. We just need to remove some wording to remove the second line where it says retirees. OPEB transfer to trust fund. We need to remove that. I'd like to have a motion to do that as an amendment. Motion and a second to remove OPEB transfer to trust fund from the budget line. All those in favor of the amendment, signify by showing hands. Any opposed? That's a vote. The total raised and appropriate for health insurance is $7,647,164. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Medicare expense, total Medicare expense raised and appropriate $465,885. All those in favor? vote to authorize or reauthorize revolving funds for fiscal 2020 pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, as amended for the following purposes. You have all of them there in front of you, but there was one that was left out by an error. Mr. Palmer.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee met just prior to this meeting, and we amended Article 5 to add the revolving account for the Council on Aging for a total of $45,000. These are for program fees and senior activities. So the amended total would be $1,450,000 for a total reauthorization of accounts.
I have a motion and a second. Finance Committee recommends as presented, $1,450,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Article number 6, will the town vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of $40,000 in combination with any matching grant funding for the master plan development, including any related work, or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 6, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Excuse me, I have a question for my town council. Article number 7, I am going to ask that we pass over because it's already been done, but we still have to go through for legalities. Will the town vote to accept Section 3A of Chapter 337 of the Act of 2018, authorizing the imposition of local excise tax upon the transfer of occupancy of a room and a bed in breakfast establishment, hotel, lodging house, short-term rental, or motel at a rate of 6% of the total amount of rent for each occupancy, or to act on anything relative thereto. The explanation was the article authorizes the imposition of a local excise tax of not more than 6%. Transfer of occupancy for various types of short-term rentals now authorized by Chapter 337 of the Act of 18, effective July 1st, 2019. Town Council did inform me, and I did this in order. The Finance Committee recommends as presented. I would ask that you vote this down because we've already voted it once. All those in favor of adopting Article 7 as requested by the Finance Committee, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's, you have voted to pass the article over. Thank you very much. Article number 8, will the town vote to accept the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 64G, 3D, effective July 1st, 19, authorizing the imposition of a community impact fee on a transfer of occupancy of a professionally managed unit defined as one or two more short-term rental units in the same town operated by the same operator which are not located within a single-family, two-family, or three-family dwelling that includes the operator's primary residence at a rate of 3% of the total amount of rent for each transfer of occupancy, or to act on anything relative thereto. The article authorizes the imposition of a local community impact fee of 3% on the total amount of rent for each transfer of occupancy of a short-term rental, professionally managed units. The community impact fee is paid monthly by the operator to the town. The town is required to dedicate not less than 35% of the community impact fees it receives to affordable housing and local infrastructure. The Finance Committee recommends as presented. All those in favor of adopting Article 8, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Will the town vote to Article 9, will the town vote to accept the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 64G, 3DB, effective July 1st, 2019, and authorizing the imposition of a community impact fee on the transfer of occupancy of a short-term rental unit that is located within a two-family or three-family dwelling that includes the operator's primary residence at a rate of 3% of the total amount of rent for each transfer or occupancy, or to act on anything relative thereto. This article authorizes the imposition of a local community impact fee of 3% total amount of rent for each transfer of occupancy of a short-term rental for owner-occupied two-family and three-family dwelling. Community impact fee is paid monthly by the operator of the town. the town is required to dedicate not less than 35% of the community impact fee it receives to affordable housing and local infrastructure. Finance Committee recommends that the president, all those in favor of adopting Article 9, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, it's a vote. Article 10, will the town vote to adopt the provisions of the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 39, Section 23D, or any other enabling authority to enable any member of any municipal board, committee, or commission of the town when holding an judicial hearing not to be disqualified from voting in the matter solely due to that member's absence for not more than a single session of the hearing at which testimony or other evidence is received, provided that before any such vote, the member shall certify in writing that he has examined all evidence received at this session, which evidence shall include an audio or video recording of the missed session or a transcript thereof, and the written certification shall be part of the record of the hearing, or take any other action relative thereto. This article will authorize the implementation of the so-called Mullen Rule, allowing a member of the town board to miss a single session to participate in future sessions and in subsequent voting, provided the member certifies that he or she has examined all evidence and the certification becomes part of the record. This rule has been adopted in numerous South Shore communities. The Finance Committee recommends deferring to the Planning Board. I recognize the Chairman of the Planning Board, Mike Corbett.
All this does is basically let a member of the planning board or zoning to, if they are out of town on business or whatever, to either like Skype in onto the meeting so it can be, everything can keep on moving forward, or if they can review the documents and everything when they get back. So I can't speak on everybody for the planning board since we didn't have it at the public hearing. This was not presented. But I am in favor of it. I recommend approval.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any other discussion? Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor of adopting Article 10, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Now we have some zoning articles. I received some correspondence from Land Use Council, Mr. Bob Galvin, along with Chris Kenny, and from the Planning Board on their articles. And I'm going to state this so that we don't have to read the entire article. It will save a little time. On Wednesday, April 17, 2019, the Rockland Planning Board conducted a duly noticed and advertised public hearing in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, to consider proposed zoning amendments to the Rockland zoning bylaws, and by a unanimous vote, the board recommended favorable action on the proposed articles. Articles 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 25, 26, and 27. And now we'll go to Article 11. These are all two-thirds votes. I'd like to be able to get unanimous. We'll see what we can do. Article 11, will the town vote to amend Article 4, Section 415-19 of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaws, entitled H1 Industrial Park Hotel District, by deleting paragraph D concerning uses required for special permit from the planning board in its entirety, inserting a new use requiring special permit under paragraph C as follows. C, uses special permit requiring special uses requiring special permit. 18, marijuana established pursuant to section 415-38.5 on take any other action relative thereto. And I'm going, this is deferred to the planning board. Mr. Corbett.
The proposed Article 11 allowing the adult use marijuana establishments by special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make an amendment. I move that Article 11 be amended to correct the clerical error on the warrant of Article 11, and have the proposed addition be identified as number 19 instead of 18 as printed in the warrant.
Do I have a second? I have a second. Just so you know, that's where it says 18 marijuana establishment, that's gonna say 19. All those in favor of adopting the amendment signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Do we have any discussion on this article? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of adopting Article 11 as amended signify with a show of hands. And all those opposed, it's unanimous. Article 12. Will the town vote to amend Article 5, Section 415-38.5 of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaw entitled Marijuana Establishment by deleting Section 415-38.5 in its entirety and inserting a new 415-38.5 as follows. You have that in front of you. I know you don't want me to read all those pages. Let's see now. I will read the last paragraph, which is, I think is on page 19 of your booklet. A special permit shall lapse if not exercised within 1 year of issuance. Marijuana establishments are required to remove all materials, plants, equipment, and other paraphernalia within 3 months of ceasing operations, or take any other action relative thereto. The explanation that I have in my book is the proposed zoning change will make the necessary changes in the zoning bylaw, provided that zoning board of appeals will be the special permit granting authority for recreational marijuana establishments in place of the planning board. This also will require a 2/3 vote. Mr. Moderator. Chair first recognizes Mr. Corbett.
The proposed Article 12, revisiting the zoning bylaw, substance permitting section to make the Zoning Board of Appeals the special permit granting authority, but retaining the planning board's authority over site approval.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Second.
Make a motion to approve.
Want to speak on this at all?
All this does is just make everything easier for the people coming in, that most of the stuff that we're going to be facing is a zoning issue as opposed to a planning. And I have an amendment here also that I would like to make. Mr. Moderator, I move that Article 12 be amended to correct the clerical error in the warrant on Article 12, and to include the language residential neighborhood between the words playground and recreational in Section C3 of Article 12.
I have a motion and a second on the amendment. I just got to find out, where, Attorney Kenny, where is this? What page is this on?
It's on page 16. So it's under,
On page 16?
okay.
Is this up at the top?
C3
Section-
towards the bottom.
Section C, number 3.
C3, okay.
So basically, residential neighborhood would be put after playground, comma, then residential neighborhood, and then comma, and then recreational. That was it. That was in the bylaw that passed last year. So it was a clerical error that was missing.
Okay, Mrs. Parsons?
That was what I was going to say.
Okay. I have an amendment, do I have any other discussion? I have an amendment by Mr. Corbett to add residential neighborhoods, because it was in there last year. All those in favor of adopting the amendment as stated by Mr. Corbett? All those opposed? That's a vote. Now, all those in favor of adopting Article number 12, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, That's unanimous. Article 13, another two-thirds vote. Will the town vote to amend Article 5, 415-385 of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaws entitled marijuana establishment by inserting a new paragraph D.6 as follows. D, special permit requirements. 6, a marijuana establishment shall only be permitted hereunder if the proposed marijuana establishment has been properly licensed by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, maintains compliance with all state licensure requirements during its operations, and is operated in compliance with all state laws and regulations, including without limitations 950 CMR 500 FC, I don't know, which are incorporated herein by reference to the extent that the same do not conflict with permissible local regulations to take any other action relative thereto. The explanation is the proposed zoning change incorporates state licensing requirements, laws, and regulations. Finance Committee recommends referring to the planning board. Mr. Corbett.
Proposed Article 13, revisiting the zoning bylaws, added a requirement that marijuana establishments be licensed by the state and to maintain compliance with those requirements. I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of adopting Article 13, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Article 14. Will the town vote to amend Article 5, Section 415-25 of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaws entitled Definitions and Word Uses by amending the existing definition of lots set front on multiple roadways by adding a new subparagraph F and attachment 2 as follows. Figure 6, triangular lot, see attachment 2 at the end of chapter 415. A copy of the proposed attachment 2 is on file with the town clerk, or take any other action relative thereto. The zoning and planning boards are proposing a new figure depicting a 6th type of lot that fronts on multiple roadways. The Finance Committee defers to the planning board. Mr. Corbett.
Proposed Article 14, revisiting the zoning bylaw to add another type of lot fronting on multiple roadways, including a triangular-shaped lot shown as figure, I think it's figure 1 in the warrant. I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Mr. Corbett.
Mr. Moderator, I move that Article 14 be amended to correct a clerical error in the warrant and to correct the number of the figure in the sketch of figure 6 instead of figure 1 as printed.
I have an amendment and a second. We'll vote on the amendment. All those in favor of adopting the amendment as stated by Mr. Corbett signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Is there any discussion on the article? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of adopting Article 14 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a unanimous vote. Article number 15. Will the town vote to amend Article 5, 415-22B of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaw by deleting the existing subparagraph 4B and inserting a new subparagraph 4B as follows. A detached accessory structure less than 24 feet in height, under 400 square feet, may only be erected in the side or rear yard, no closer than 5 feet from the side or rear lot line, and in conformance with the front yard requirement of the district in which it is located. A detached accessory structure equal to or greater than 24 feet in height or equal to or greater than 400 square feet may be erected in the side yard or rear yard no closer than 15 feet from the side or rear lot line and in conformance with the front yard requirements of the district in which it is located. In no event shall any detached accessory structure be located in the front yard area of a lot between the front boundary line of the property and the street, at the street, and the principal building in an area equal to the width of the principal building facing the street, which serves as the primary access, or take any other action relative thereto. The zoning and planning boards are proposing a change to aid in access and visibility of the principal buildings and preventing accessory buildings in front yard setback areas. The boards have been advised that accessory structures and sheds have been erected in front yards and are looking to require them to be located in such a manner they are not located in front of principal buildings between the street, provided access in the front of the principal building. Finance Committee recommends deferring to the planning board. Mr. Corbett.
Proposed Article 15, establishing a new dimensional setbacks for detached accessory structures, detached accessories of buildings so that they are not placed in the front yard of the main dwellings. I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor of adopting Article 15 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 16, town vote to amend Article 5, Section 40. I'm sorry. One more time on 15, I messed up here. All those in favor of adopting Article 15 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Clifford. Article 16, will the town vote to amend Article 5, 415-32 of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaws entitled accessory apartment within a single-family dwelling by deleting subsection H thereof in its entirety and replacing it with a new subsection H as follows. A, the occupants of the accessory apartment shall be either 1, an individual, or 2, or more persons related by blood or marriage living together as a single housekeeping unit, including necessary domestic help such as nurses or aid service assistants, but not more than 4 occupants, or 2, a group of individuals not related by blood or marriage but living together as a single housekeeping unit may constitute a family, and including necessary domestic help such as nurses, aides, service assistants, but not for more than 4 occupants. Purpose is controlling residential density in accessory apartments. Residents of rooming, boarding, or lodging houses shall not be considered a family or take any other action relative thereto. Explanation, the zoning and planning boards are proposed to change in the definition of family as a result of an opinion received from Attorney General warning of potential infirmity with an existing definition of family. Finance Committee recommends deferring to the planning board. Mr. Corbett.
On proposed Article 16, an establishment in accordance with the federal law that occupants of an accessory dwelling allowed by special permit can include non-traditional families and persons who are minors or who have disabilities that require live-in care as being able to occupy accessory apartments. This has been recommended by the Attorney General. I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second to approve the article. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Article 17, will the town vote to amend Article 5, 415-32M of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaws entitled Limitations on Accessory Apartments Permitted by Right by deleting subsection M1 and replacing it with a new subsection M1 as follows. M, all accessory apartments permitted by right in the R2 Residence District, R3 Residence District, and R4 Residence shall be subject to and conditioned upon the following conditions and limitations. 1, adherence to the provisions of the existing 415-32 C, D, E, F, G, and the provisions of 415-32H, or take any other action relative thereto. The zoning and planning boards are proposed to change the definition of family as a result of an opinion received from the Attorney General warning of potential infirmity with the existing definition of family. The further change allows accessory apartments that are permitted by right to have the same type of occupants as those proposed by special permit. Finance Committee recommends deferring to the planning board. Mr. Corbett.
Proposed Article 17, also making the new definition applicable as a right of accessory housing. I make a motion to approve.
A motion and a second to approve Article 17. All those in favor of adopting Article 17 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. 18, will the town vote to amend Article 5, Section 415-35 of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaws by deleting existing Section 8.5 and replacing it with the following: accessory apartment, at least 2 additional parking spots in addition to the parking requirement of the existing dwelling unit, or take any other action relative thereto. The zoning and planning boards are proposed change to add additional on-site parking for accessory apartments to lessen the congestion on the streets. And the Finance Committee recommends deferring to the planning board. Mr. Corbett.
Proposed Article 18, adding a requirement that properties with accessory apartments have 2 additional parking spaces in addition to the regularly required parking space. All this is doing is basically just adding 1 because it's in the law now for 1, so it's just adding 1. I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second to approve the article. All those in favor of adopting Article 18 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Article 19, you can take a seat, Mr. Corbett. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds a sum of $15,000 for training and professional development expenses for the town administrator or staff in the Board of Selectmen's office, or take any other action relative thereto? Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 19? All those opposed? That's a vote. Article number 20, and there is a typo in here. In the glossary in the front, the amount was 28,000. When it was typed, it wasn't caught. It should actually say 28,000. So I'm going to read it as 28,000 because of the front pages. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from transfer from available funds a sum of 28,000 for technical assistance and support, comprehensive town charter review, or take any other action relative thereto? The Finance Committee recommends from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 20? All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 21, will the town vote to raise and appropriate transfer from available funds the sum of $45,000 in combination with any matching grant funding if available for capital projects and repairs, or take any other action relative thereto? Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 22, will the town vote to transfer from available funds the sum of money to purchase 201 Market Street, parcel ID 51-97-0, or take any other action relative thereto? Finance Committee recommends passing over the article. All those in favor of passing over Article 22 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article number 23. This is submitted by the Board of Park Commissioners and the School Committee. And this, I could read this whole thing and nobody's gonna understand it. This is to transfer land, and I think I'm gonna call on Richard Penny, our member of the Board of Selectmen. This is to do with, he's gonna explain how it's to do with the new school project, possible future school project. Mr. Penny.
Thank you, moderator. Rich Penny, member of the Board of Selectmen, also chair of the Rockland Elementary School Committee. So this article, we have been working for a year on a potential new elementary school. We have identified a location, and that would be what is currently the Memorial Park field, or better known as the Oval. So that is right now parkland. So in order to move this along, we have to do a transfer. So the Park Commission has been on board, the School Committee, Board of Selectmen. The state has also been a part of this, called Article 97. So we are proposing to transfer what right now is the Oval parcel to the school. We would in turn transfer what is the Memorial Park School back to the Park Department, and we would make that a field as part of the project. We would also transfer the Jefferson parcel, and we would remove the building on that and turn that into a usable field as well. And that is if the school project passes, which won't come up until next October and November, but for clerical things, we need to get this passed.
This was submitted by both the Park Commissioners and the School Committee. Mrs. Maroney, I don't know if you want to have anything, and Joe Reese from the Park Commission is here. I don't know if you people want to come down to the mic. I'm going to need a motion to approve this. And I would just like to hear from both boards. Okay. Go ahead, I just would like to have the people know that, you know, from what I've been told, that everybody's in agreement, so.
Yes.
That's all I'd like to hear from them.
Park Commissioners voted unanimously to go forward with this. I make a motion.
School committee has also voted unanimously, and I second his motion.
That's all. Anybody have any discussion about this? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of adopting, and I'd like to have it unanimous, I'm sorry. This needs a 2/3, I'd like to have it unanimous. All those in favor of adopting Article 23, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Thank you. Article 24, will the town vote to create a charter review committee consisting of up to 9 members, which shall consist of 3 members of the Charter Maintenance Committee and 6 additional members appointed by the Board of Selectmen. The Charter Review Committee shall conduct a comprehensive review of the town charter and report back to the town meeting no later than May 2021 with the proposed modifications to the charter. The 9-member Town Charter Review Committee shall be disbanded upon its final report to town meeting, with the exception of 3 members of the Charter Maintenance Committee, whose appointment shall continue pursuant to Section 7.01 of the Town Charter, or take any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends deferring to the Board of Selectmen.
Larry Ryan, Chairman of the Board. Basically, what this is going to allow us to do is to put all the charter maintenance that we have now is so old, out of date. It has to be brought up to date to reflect the position that the town's in now with administrators, who has rights to do what and all that other thing. So this is for that. We need to update our charter because it's really quite outdated.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting Article 24, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 25. Another 2/3 vote. Will the town vote to amend Article 3, Establishment of Districts, Section 415-3 of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaws by adding a new district entitled to Route 3 Corridor Sign Overlay District to the existing list of zoning districts as follows. O, Route 3 Corridor Sign Overlay District, or take any other action relative thereto. The Board of Selectmen are proposing a change to the town zoning bylaws to permit billboards that are compliant with state laws and regulations in a new sign overlay district adjoining Route 3, which will be subject to special permit regulations. This article creates the district. The Finance Committee recommends deferring to the Planning Board. Mr. Corbett?
Proposed Article 25, adding a new Route 3 corridor sign overlay district to the existing list of zoning districts in the zoning bylaw. I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second to adopt Article 25. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's unanimous. Article 26, will the town vote to amend Article 3, Establishment of District, Section 415-4, zoning map of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaws that depicts the boundary lines of the enumerated zoning districts by adding the zoning district entitled the Route 3 Corridor Sign Overlay District to the official zoning district map as shown on the proposed official zoning map on file with the town clerk, or take any other action relative thereto. The Board of Selectmen are proposing a change in the town zoning bylaws to permit billboards that are compliant with state laws and regulations in a new sign overlay district adjoining Route 3, which will be subject to special permit regulations. This article amends the official zoning map of the town to show the newly proposed zoning overlay district. Finance Committee defers to the Planning Board. Mr. Corbett?
On the proposed Article 26, amending the official zoning map to show the Route 3 corridor sign overlay district, I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second to adopt Article 26. All those in favor of adopting Article 26? All those opposed? That's unanimous. Article 27. Will the town vote to amend Article 4, permitted uses by inserting the proposed new zoning overlay district as follows? There's an addendum in the back of your book, C and D. I am not going to read all these pages. I am going to read A. The Route 3 Corridor Sign Overlay District is established to create an overlay district that provides for the development and construction of electronic billboards in a planned manner by allowing for the construction of the electronic visibility and benefit the viability of new and existing businesses subject to reasonable control that govern the placement, design, construction, and operation, monitoring, modification, and removal of such signs, and minimize impacts on public safety, scenic, natural, and historic resources. And that's followed by numerous pages. And the explanation at the end is the Board of Selectmen are proposing a change to the town's zoning bylaws to permit billboards that are compliant with state laws and regulations in a new sign overlay district adjoining Route 3, subject to special permit regulations. This sets forth the criteria, design guidelines, and restrictions for the proposed billboards. The Finance Committee defers to the Planning Board. I'll recognize Mr. Corbett first.
On the proposed Article 27, amending the zoning bylaw to provide substantive special permit process before the Zoning Board of Appeals to make the billboard on the new Route 3 corridor sign overlay district. I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Chair recognizes Mr. O'Loughlin, the Vice Chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Michael Laughlin, 471 West Water Street. Make a motion to move Article 27 be amended to correct a clerical error in the warrant, which indicated that 2 signs were permitted under proposed section E7, and correct that number to 1 billboard sign, double-sided, as per section E.
I'll second that.
So I understand this, there should be no more than 1 billboard, is that correct, Mr. O'Loughlin?
Yes, 1 billboard, double-sided.
I have I have an amendment, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the amendment. All those in favor of adopting the amendment signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. All those in favor of adopting Article 27, I'd like to have it unanimous. Signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Article 28, will the town vote to increase the maximum abatement that a senior citizen can earn under the Senior Citizen Work-Off Program adopted annual town meeting May 3rd, 2010 to $750 in accordance to Chapter 184, Section 52 of the Act of 2002 as it amends General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5K for property taxes assessed for any fiscal year beginning on or after July 1st, 2019, and take any other action relative thereto. The Board of Assessors has approved up to $7,500 a year, 10 workers at $750 for the Senior Citizen Work-Off Program to be funded from overlay. Finance Committee recommends funding from overlay. All those in favor of adopting Article 28, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. 29, will the town vote to increase the gross receipts that seniors may have in the prior calendar year to be eligible to defer property taxes under General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41A, from $20,000 to $40,000, with such increase to be effective for deferrals granted for property taxes assessed for any fiscal year beginning on or after July 1st, 2019, or any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends as presented. All those in favor of adopting Article 29 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 30 was withdrawn. Article 31 was withdrawn. Article 32, will the town vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 54, to allow the town to exempt certain personal property and to establish a minimum value of $5,000 for personal property subject to taxation or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends as presented. All those in favor of adopting Article 32 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 33, will the town vote to transfer $19,160,000 from the Community Preservation Fund Administration account into the Community Preservation Undesignated Fund following the State Department of Revenue standards or take any other action relative thereto? The Finance Committee recommends deferring to the Community Preservation Committee. Am I correct, Mr. Pumphrey? And I'll recognize Derek Yule.
Derek Yule, Chairman of the CPC here in Rockland. Essentially, unspent money from our administrative account needs to go back into the general fund. Oops, sorry. Unspent, unused money from our administrative account needs to go back into our general fund. Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second to adopt Article 33. Any discussion? All those in favor of adopting Article 33 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 34, will the town vote to approve and expend from the Community Preservation Fund? Yours does not include the word balance. Tonight, the Finance Committee reopened this article and added the word balance. So it's going to say Community Preservation Fund balance, the sum of $20,900 for the restoration and rehabilitation of the Tramp House property located at 198 Spring Street, a National Register of Historic Places building, or taking the other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends deferring to the Community Preservation Committee. Mr. Yule.
Some of you may know the Tramp House next to the Arms House. It's one of, I think, 5 in the state that remains. Historical Commission from town submitted an application for funding for some renovations and restoration of the building. Our committee voted unanimously to approve and move on to town meeting, and we're just looking for a good vote to put this in motion.
You have a motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve,
I
sorry.
have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? All those in favor of adopting Article 34, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 35, will the town vote to appropriate a reserve from the Community Preservation Fund annual revenues in the amounts recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for committee administration expenses, preservation projects, and other expenses in fiscal year 2020, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation. You have the amounts in front of you. Finance Committee, again, recommends deferring to the Community Preservation Committee. Mr. Yule.
Basically, these are the estimates of our breakdown from what we received locally from the surcharge we implemented about a year and a half ago. This is how it breaks down: 10% that's guaranteed to each of the 3 categories. Our general or budgeted reserve is our open fund and our administrative expenses. Like I said, this is an estimate based on what we've received in the past and what they deem to be coming forward for the next fiscal year. I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting Article 35 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 36, will the town vote to approve and expend from the Community Preservation Fund balance? That was added by the Finance Committee tonight. They reopened this article to add that one word. The sum of $77,000 for the restoration and rehabilitation of the King Philip hand tub firefighting apparatus, or take any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee defers to the Community Preservation Committee. The Capital Planning Committee recommended this at a meeting on May 2nd, 2019. Mr. Yule.
Yes, some of you might be aware of the King Philip hand tub. It was the first apparatus that was purchased for Rockland as a town for firefighting purposes. It's a pretty neat thing. You can see it in the town report. There's a nice picture of it. It's a 150-year-old piece of history in town. Needs a complete restoration. We received an application for this restoration, which is very badly needed. We're at the risk of losing this thing. We approved it unanimously again as a committee. Would like to see a positive vote from the town to see this piece of history restored, brought through to town for display, use in parades or whatnot. But it's really just saving a piece of Rockland's history. I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second to approve Article 36. All those in favor of adopting Article 36 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Just most of you know I was on the fire department. That was the first truck I trained on. Okay, Article 37. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds the sum of $1.1 million to pay for the removal of existing installation of new sprinkler system at the Rockland Community Center? This cost would also include necessary construction costs and repairs because of the removal and installation of the sprinkler system, or take any other action or what else up there too. There's been a lot of work done in the past number of days. The original thing was to pass over the article, but the Finance Committee reheard this tonight, and I'm going to let Vice Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Michael Laughlin, describe what's going to be done, and probably hear from Mr. Pumphrey on the Finance Committee.
Michael Laughlin, 471 West Water Street. So this article has gotten a lot of attention over the last several weeks. As most of you know, we initially voted to pass over this article, and as a result, it caused the building to be closed for safety purposes. This past Saturday, the Board of Selectmen met at 8:30 in the morning, and we were able to come up with some additional funding. We're not going to be able to afford the amount that's listed on this article, but we went out to City Point Sprinkler System, Fire Prevention Protection Services, and they gave us a quote of $368,000, which would allow us to keep the basement, the first floor, and the second floor completely fixed and wide and open for the programs to continue. The third floor would have to be closed for a year until next year's town meeting. We have the approval from Chief Scott Duffy and Tom Rubel for the building inspector. So what we're looking to do is propose an amendment to Article 37. Let the town vote to raise and appropriate for transfer from available funds the sum of $459,000 to pay for repairs necessary to comply with building and fire codes at the Rockland Community Center by transferring $159,000 from undesignated fund balance, and to meet the remainder of said appropriation, the town treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow $300,000 under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, or any enabling authority, and that the Board of Selectmen and any other town official is authorized to take any action necessary to carry out this vote, or take any other action relative thereto.
That's going to be your amendment, Mr. O'Laughlin? Do I have a second on the amendment?
That'll be a
I want-
two-thirds vote. There'll be a two-thirds vote.
We're first going to vote on the amendment. I'm going to vote on the amendment first.
Mr. Moderator, would you vote for the law, for the question? Question on the article, Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to have the Board of Selectmen explain to town meeting what programs are in this facility and how important they are to the life of this community. It's a large sum of money, they've done a lot of work, under a lot of stress, to put an outlet before the town that will save these programs from being moved, abolished, who knows what. So I think I'd like to have that explained to the town meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. McKinley. So currently housed in the McKinley School Community Center, we have the Rockland Public School Daycare, we have the Rockland Youth Commission, we have the Historical Society, we have WIC, we have Holiday Magic, and the Veterans Agent is currently up there as well, and the Chipmunk Program. The Teen Center as well. So clearly, all of these programs are of vital importance to the town of Rockland. It was never the intention of the Board of Selectmen to eliminate any of these programs. We just had this large sum of money that we clearly couldn't afford at this time. We put together a plan over the last several weeks, and we came up with, I think, a good resolution to continue the programs in this facility for the foreseeable future. And every department is on board. Every department has worked very well together and has continued to work well together, communicating any needs of the departments going forward.
Okay, we are going to vote on the amendment first, and then if there's more discussion, I'll also hear from Mr. Pumphrey. We have a motion and a second to adopt the amendment that Mr. O'Laughlin read, which is spending $459,000 by transferring $159,000 from the undesignated fund balance, also known as free cash, and to authorize borrowing of $300,000. All those in favor of adopting this amendment signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, you have voted the amendment. Mr. Pumphrey, do you have anything to add?
I just want to add briefly that the Finance Committee met prior to town meeting, and we, as we mentioned earlier, we moved $50,000 from our reserve fund from fiscal 19 to free up additional free cash to make it to the 159, and we considered the amended article and voted unanimously to support it.
Thank you. Any other discussion or any other questions? Seeing no other discussion or questions, all those in favor of adopting Article 37 as amended, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 38.
Mr. Moderator, that's actually going to be a 2/3 vote.
I'm sorry, we gotta vote one more time because of borrowing. I need a unanimous on this. All those in favor of adopting Article 37, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Mr. Valenzola would like to reconsider Article 37. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor of reconsidering Article 37 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, you voted not to reconsider Article 37. Article 38, will the town vote to raise and appropriate and take from available funds a sum of $25,000 for repairs at the McKinley Community Center building or take any other action relative thereto? Mr. O'Loughlin.
So in the last article, we put forward a sum of $459,000. The estimate that we currently have is only $368, so there is money available within that article to handle any additional repairs that come from the replacement of the sprinkler system. So with Article number 38, we would like to change the article to read as follows. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds the sum of $30,000 transfer from undesignated fund balance for a feasibility study at the Rockland Community Center or take any other relative action thereto?
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Mr. Pumphrey, do you have anything?
We'll wait for the amendment to be voted.
Okay. All those in favor of adopting the amendment as stated by Mr. O'Loughlin signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Mr. Pumphrey.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee met prior to tonight's meeting, and we considered this article as amended for $30,000. We voted unanimously to support it, primarily because my understanding is that the output of this feasibility study will tell us what the available uses are for the building, and that was one of the major stumbling points that we had all along with the building. We need to know what it's going to be used for, so we have a proper plan going forward, and that the feasibility study will help with that.
Okay, all those in favor of adopting Article 38 as amended by Mr. O'Loughlin signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 39, will town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $47,000 to remove asbestos tiles or adhesive that will allow us to replace the vinyl covering on the interior stairs of the Rockland Community Center or take any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends passing the article over. All those in favor of passing over Article 39 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 40, will the town vote to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds a sum of $122,000 to rehabilitate the elevator, including installing automatic backup power, a new tank unit, and full landing doors of the Rockland Community Center, or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends passing over. When I was at the meeting with the Board of Selectmen on Saturday morning, the building inspector, Tom Rubel, was present. The elevator has been certified this year, so that was the reason it was passed over. Just so you people know, we're taking, not just ignoring it. All those in favor of passing over Article 40 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 41, will the town vote to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds a sum of $235,000 to pay for the creation of bid documents for work to be done in the exterior of the Rockland Community Center. This document would examine and outline what needs to be done to the exterior of the buildings so that the town would know exactly what information to provide contractors when going out to bid or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends passing over Article 41. All those in favor of the Finance Committee recommendation signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 42, will the town vote to amend the Rockland General Code, Chapter 407, wetlands by deleting the existing Chapter 407-1, Section 407-9, and inserting the following new 407-1 to 407-12 as follows. There's a lot. It's all presented in front of you. The explanation is the new wetlands protection bylaw is intended to replace the existing wetland bylaw. Contains updated information, establishes a 25-foot non-disturbance zone, and provides authority to make rules consistent with the bylaw. I would like to have somebody from the they referred to the Conservation Commission. I'd like somebody to come down, number one, and I'd also like to hear from Rockland Land Use Council, Chris Kenny.
Charlene Judge, Vice Chairman of the Conservation Commission, and Mr. Moderator, you're doing an excellent job, and I don't know why you don't have several water bottles up there. You succinctly told us what this piece of legislation is all about now. It's much clearer than the old one that we had, and I think it helps our applicants to know what they need to do. But I would like to defer to Mr. Kenny so that he can present all the information that's relative to this.
Ms. Judge, could I get a motion to adopt if you're in favor of it, if your committee's in favor?
A motion to adopt Article 42.
I have a motion and a second. Now I'll defer to Attorney Kenny.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The purpose of the new bylaw is for the Conservation Commission to give them the ability to clarify and assist them with the permitting processes, which have changed since 2005, which is the last time such bylaw was revised. The Commission is responding to the advice and recommendations of its wetland consultant as well as Land Use Council as to form and content of this bylaw. And then this new bylaw is very similar to the bylaws which have been approved in most other surrounding communities, and it'll give the Commission the ability to protect the wetland resources of the town of Rockland while striking a balance between the environmental protection and redevelopment and/or new development. Thank you.
Do I have any discussion? All those in favor of adopting Article 42 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 43, will the town vote to raise or appropriate take from available funds the sum of $49,641.38 for a ninth payment of 10-year lease purchase for the 2011 1,500 gallon per minute pumper and said lease completed in 2021, or take any other action relative thereto in the fire department. The Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 43 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 44, will the town vote to raise and appropriate take from available funds the sum of $90,000 to purchase new firefighting bunker gear, that's the turnout gear they wear, for each member of the fire department, or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. Capital Planning Committee recommends for their capital plan. All those in favor of adopting Article 44 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds the sum of $22,000 to upgrade designated drainage on French Road for the Highway Department, or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends passing over the article. All those in favor of passing over Article 45 signify with a show of hands. Did Mr. Taylor, did you want to speak?
No, just on Article 46.
Okay. All those in favor of passing over Article 45 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 46, will the town vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or take from available funds the sum of $660,000 to construct curbing, ADA ramps, and bituminous concrete walkways on one side of Upper Union Street, North Avenue to BFW Parkway, including intersection upgrades at Union Street and North Avenue, Union Street and Westwater Street for the Highway Department, and that to meet said appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow said sum under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, or any other enabling authority, or take any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee is going to recommend borrowing the money. It's going to require a 2/3 vote, but I recognize Mr. Taylor.
David Taylor, 329 Summer Street, also a highway superintendent. These funds will be working along with the funds that we were voted on in 2016, the road project that the residents voted on. What this will allow us to do will allow us to put 2 sidewalks, curb and ADA ramps on the upper portion of Union Street. Right now, we currently have a little over $1.1 million. That is to finish Union Street and also to finish Forest Street, which is more than enough to do 1 sidewalk, but we're asking the townspeople to vote for that, curbing, sidewalks, ADA, on both sides of Union Street. This area goes from North Ave and all the way up to VFW Drive, with the islands upgraded at VFW Drive and Union Street, and then also the intersections of North Ave and Union Street, and also the intersections with Eastwater, Westwater, and Union Street as well, to update the ADA, make it compliant, curbing, sidewalks. So we're asking to support and accept this.
We already have, we have approval by the Finance Committee. It was also approved by the Capital Planning. Anybody else wishes to speak? Mrs. Parsons?
I just have a question. You want me to talk?
Sure. Why not?
I just have a question, Mary Parsons, 754 Union Street. Can you explain bituminous concrete walkway? Is that going to be those concrete curbings? It's asphalt, right?
Yes.
What about the curbing?
Curbing is granite, 6-inch SBA 4 curb.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, because you've seen the concrete curbing there.
I have.
It's
All
non-existent.
the concrete will be removed. It'll be exactly what we just did on the low end of Union Street.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Taylor? Seeing none. Finance Committee recommends borrowing. I need a 2/3 vote. I'd like to have unanimous. All those in favor of adopting Article 46, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Article 47 is withdrawn. Article 48, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $41,000 to repair the exterior, interior, and roof of the salt shed of the Highway Department, and take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 48, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 49, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $29,956.60 for the purpose of multifunction and wide format printers or action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends passing over Article 49. All those in favor of passing over Article 49, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 50, will the town vote to raise and appropriate transfer from available funds the sum of $48,000 for the information technology equipment and upgrades, including any related work, or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 50, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 51, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds the sum of $94,000. It's, I'm sorry, in the book it says $94,960.15 for the purchase of servers or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Pumphrey wants to speak because the Finance Committee had not made a recommendation until early before our town meeting started. It was also Capital Plan Committee recommends approving per capital plan. Mr. Pumphrey.
So this particular article was not on the capital plan in time for us to have our recommendation printed on the warrant. We did take a vote prior to tonight's meeting. We did recommend, per the capital plan, that the amount would be for $94,000 even, and that should be taken from free cash. and that was recommended unanimous by the board.
Okay, the first action will come on the Finance Committee recommendation of $94,000 from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 51 in the amount of $94,000 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 52, I'd like to have 2/3 on this one and the next one. Will the town vote to accept a gift, as a gift deeded to the Rockland Conservation Commission by deed from Beach Hill Limited Partnership? These lands are located in the town of Rockland, Plymouth County, Massachusetts. The lands are identified on the town of Rockland Assessors Map / Lot 5 and Map 68, Lot 42 and Map 67. These parcels have a total area of approximately 108.86 acres. The deed has been recorded at the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds in Book 14159, pages 195 to 201. This was deeded to the town for the purpose of maintaining open space and for flood control or take any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends deferring to the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Ryan.
Larry Ryan, 121 Concord Street. This is housekeeping. This was already accepted some years ago, and this is, it was never recorded properly, so that this is what we're going to do. So we would recommend approving.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second? Motion to approve and have a second of Article 52. All those in favor of adopting Article 52 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Article 53, will the town vote to transfer to the Conservation Commission the tax title land situated in the town of Rockland, Plymouth County, Massachusetts, being showed as Lot 1 on Assessor Sheet 37, located off Howland Way, containing 67,956 square feet, to be maintained as open space for the purpose of flood control or take any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends deferring to the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Ryan.
The Board of Selectmen has approved the article.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Ryan?
Yes, motion to adopt.
Second? All those in favor of adopting Article 53 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. I'm sorry, I need a unanimous. All those in favor? All those opposed, that's unanimous. Article 54 was withdrawn. Article 55, will the town vote to transfer 3.91 acres of land owned by the town of Rockland and situated in the town of Rockland, Massachusetts, located at 0 Airport Park Drive, as shown on the town of Rockland assessing map 7, lot 4, and whose deed is recorded at the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds in Book 3022, page 360, to the Rockland Conservation Commission, or take any other action relative thereto. There is an Addendum B map attached at the back of your booklet. The Finance Committee recommends passing over. The Board of Selectmen do not recommend. The first action will come on the Finance Committee recommendation. All those in favor of passing over Article 55 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 56, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $55,729.30 for the new 2019 Ford F-450 one-ton dump truck with plow or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose is to replace a 2010 one-ton dump truck. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. Capital Planning Committee recommends per the capital plan. All those in favor of adopting Article 56 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 57, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $7,100 for new maintenance of machinery, tools, or take any other action relative thereto for the Park Department? Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 57 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 58, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds the sum of $54,229.30 for a new Ford F-451 ton dump truck with plow, take any other action relative thereto, to replace a 2011 one-ton dump truck. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. Capital Planning Committee recommends per the capital plan. All those in favor of adopting Article 58, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 59, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $35,000 for a mezzanine in the new Veterans Memorial Stadium garage, or take any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends passing over Article 59. All those in favor of passing over Article 59 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds the sum of $20,130 for new fencing around Veterans Stadium and take any other action relative thereto? Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 60 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 61, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds the sum of $86,000 to purchase and equip 2 police cruisers or take any other action relative thereto? Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 61 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 62, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds the sum of $13,666 to pay for the third of a 3-year lease payment for the police K-9 cruiser or take any other action relative thereto? K-9 vehicle needed to be replaced mid-year in fiscal year 2018. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 62 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 63, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds the sum of $17,500 to purchase ballistic helmets and armor-plated vests to be deployed in each police cruiser or take any other action relative thereto? The purpose is protection of police officers they approach or deploy at an active shooter or other dangers involved scene. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 63 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 64, our last zoning article. To see if the town will vote to add the following new provisions to the zoning bylaw to create a Webster Street parking overlay district. There's 2 pages of this. The Finance Committee recommends deferring to the Planning Board and the petitioner. I will call on Mr. Corbett to begin.
On Wednesday, April 17th, 2019, the Rockland Planning Board conducted a duly noted and advertised public hearing in accordance with Mass General Law, Section 40A, Section 5, to consider proposed zoning amendments to the Rockland zoning bylaws. And we have unanimously voted not to recommend the proposed overlay district. So I make a motion to pass this article over.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have a second on that? Second. Okay. Mr. Corbett, would you like to speak anything further while you're up there?
I'll let this man speak first.
Tom Hannigan, 261 Liberty Street. In section overlay district, at the end of the section, after the words Liberty Square, please add as indicated in the plan annexed A.
Tom, one more time.
At the end of the section, after the words Liberty Square, please add as indicated in the plan annexed as Exhibit A.
I take it this is an amendment, Mr. Hannigan?
Yes, it is.
I have an amendment. Do I have a second? I have an amendment and a second. No?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes?
This was brought before us, and other people have brought similar proposals over to us. And when they came...
Mr. Corbett, maybe we should, for the people that, if there's anybody in here that doesn't know, maybe we need a little further explanation on whereabouts, what this involves.
Yes, this is on Webster Street, and it's the nursing home rehabilitation, and they are proposing to have parking across the street from them. Other people have come in before us and had wanted to have off-site parking, and you have to have parking on your own lot. They could have done something different before they put the addition on, because they had the property next door. But they enlarged the building, They said they had plenty of parking, and now they've come back for more parking. So we try to treat everybody fairly that comes before us, and you have to have your parking contained onto your own property. So we don't want to grant them any special favors, because we haven't done it in the past. So now they realize they have a parking problem when they had a parking problem, in my opinion, before they put the addition on. So this is why they're coming before now.
Mr. Valenzola?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jared Valenzola, 112 Webster Street, member of the Planning Board. I would like it clarified, I had to abstain on this. Oddly enough, I'm in a butter to this district, but I do support this change. While I certainly understand that the way Webster Park was built and constructed in the past may not have been conducive to the parking, the bottom line is it was approved. Anybody who drives down Webster Street pretty much during any business hours, and especially on a Saturday morning, knows just how difficult it is to maneuver around the street parked cars, to maneuver around and make sure you don't hit somebody that's trying to cross the street from the post office. This is a simple solution to a situation that exists on Webster Street, and all due respect to my friend the chairman, with regard to off-site parking, both Rockland Federal Credit Union and Mountain One banks have off-site parking across the street from their facilities. In the case of Rockland Federal Credit Union on the other side of the GAR Hall, and in the case of Mountain One Bank, across the street next to the VFW and the Rockland Eagles. So this is not an entirely far-fetched solution in the town of Rockland. It's something that frankly could have been taken care of on a case-by-case basis. Unfortunately, we've come to this point where we need to create this district so that this situation can be alleviated. I ask that you vote to not pass this over and then make a motion to approve this.
All right, before we go any further, based on town council's opinion, I'm going to take a vote on the amendment that was proposed by Mr. Hannigan. Mr. Hannigan?
Moderator, point of order. I'm wondering if I could explain the amendment and the rationale therefore as counsel to the petitioner.
Is that fine, Mr. Clifford? All right, I'm going to recognize Walter Sullivan. He is an attorney in Norwell. He is representing the people that own Webster Park Nursing Home on 56 Webster Street. I am allowing him to speak. Mr. Sullivan, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Again, Walter Sullivan for the petitioner. I also represent the nursing home, the Webster Park Nursing Home. The purpose of the amendment is to clarify the district that is being proposed. This is not specific just to the nursing home. This includes a collection of properties on Webster Street that goes from up past the post office all the way past the nursing home to deal with the cars that are parked on both sides of the road that block egress for emergency vehicles as well as pedestrians. And so we are seeking to clarify the zone by attaching a plan, which most of you probably received on the way in here now, to identify the district with specificity. That was the purpose of the motion. And I would ask to reserve time later to talk about the merits of the motion, Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Clifford? I'm now going to take a vote on the amendment for that was submitted by Mr. Hannigan to this article and is explained by Mr. Sullivan, and we had a second. All those in favor of adopting the amendment signify with a show of hands. All those in favor, against? You have voted to accept the amendment. Who else with other discussion? Mr. Corbett from the Planning Board.
Even though other people might have off-site parking, it's never been brought before the planning board. You know, if Rockland Federal Credit Union has off-site parking, it's never come before us. You know, people that have come before us and asked for it, it's never been granted.
Mr. Pumphrey.
This time I'll be in front of you as a resident, 325 Howard Street, and someone who lives right around the corner from Webster Street. I can attest to the fact that this is a problem area. with all due respect to precedent that's been set with other decisions, perhaps from the board, I still think that it warrants approval because to relieve the stress from that road, decrease the traffic, make it safer for people, that's the decision that we're making here tonight. We're not making the decision to every parking lot for the history of man. I think this is really a safety issue, and I'd like to see Webster Street get freed up a little bit with the amount of traffic that's there.
Mr. Corbett, before you speak, I'm going to recognize Chief Llewellyn.
Good evening, everyone. Chief Llewellyn of the Rockland Police Department. From a public safety standpoint, I think it's imperative that we pass this. Anybody that's driven down Webster Street any time of the afternoon, especially on a Saturday, we get calls all the time for specific areas in town. We send cruisers out. We do directed patrols. We cannot do enough directed patrols for Webster Street. With people crossing, and a lot of elderly people still go to the post office. A lot of younger people may not go to the post office. So we do have a lot of issues with people crossing at the post office. So I would ask you to support passing over this article. Thank you. Not.
Mr. Corbett.
You know, it is a problem area, but as the chief also said, there's problem areas all over the town. So you're going to have people crossing the street as people try to drive down. You know what I mean? So you're creating another issue there with people in the street. And approving this article is basically just opening up a can of worms, in my opinion, to other people that come in that need parking for their site, because if they don't get the approval from the planning board, they're just going to come back and get a town meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Celine Furlong, 677 Union Street. Isn't this spot zoning? Isn't it against the law to spot zone?
Mr. Clifford or Mr. Kenny?
This will go to the AG's office for review. So the AG, if approved, it would go to the Attorney General's office for, and they'd give a decision within 90 days.
But it is spot zoning, because you're changing the zoning of that one area.
It's an overlay.
No, hold on, audience. Mr. Kenny?
It's not for the one area, it's for the overlay district.
Okay, what about the homes that are there?
What's
There
the
are
what's the
homes
question?
there.
Well, there's homes in plenty, in lots of overlay districts. That doesn't necessarily make it spot zoning.
I'm going to recognize Attorney Sullivan again.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Just to elaborate on the purpose of the motion. Procedurally, the nursing home actually started this process. It is an overlay district, and it's not specific to the nursing home. It doesn't just benefit the nursing home. However, it's limited to businesses in that district so that they can allow their employees only to park off-site. That will remove cars from Webster Street and make it more safe, not just for the nursing homes, patients, families, and employees, but the public as a whole, because we have an issue all the way up to the post office. The nursing home tried to get a variance to allow for this. It was denied. They tried to get a special permit. It was denied. There were no other options left. We've never gone to the planning board because it is not the appropriate body. However, should this group pass this tonight by a 2/3 vote, we still don't have a permit. We have to then go to the planning board and seek a special permit. The purpose for that is the planning board has safeguards to make sure that if it does give a special permit to allow for employee parking, that they can put in mechanisms that make it consistent with the neighborhood, such as screening, such as a crosswalk, such as any other conditions that they can put on a special permit that your bylaws already allow. So there are safeguards for the neighborhood. It is not spot zoning. It's an overlay district that is not specific just to this nursing home, but it is specific to business uses on Webster Street to allow for employee parking only, because that will free up space on existing sites and get cars off of Webster Street. I would also like to point out that this effort has been supported by police, fire, DPW, and unanimously by the selectmen. And I would pray that this group would vote 2 to 2/3 in favor, because it's good for Rockland, not just for an individual. Thank you.
No, I'm not going to take that. First of all, Mr. Clifford, I'm going to let our attorney speak, and then I will let you speak, sir.
I think one of the concerns that the planning board has, and I think one of the concerns that we have legally, is that the articles should have been presented in a much more comprehensive manner. When we modify our zoning bylaws, it's usually done in 3 parts. It's done under a definition section, it's done under an actual verbiage section, which you do have, and then we would amend the zoning map. Unfortunately, because this came in as a petition article, all 3 of those things weren't done. Voters do not have the opportunity to look at the map beforehand. This is a district. It is not limited to one person. As council indicated, it's not spot zoning. But I think ideally for the planning board's use, this would have been done in a more comprehensive fashion. But again, it did come in as a petition article and not through the planning board.
This gentleman right here.
John Molyneux, 63 Plain Street. I'm just wondering who owns this property and who will own it when it becomes a parking lot?
I'll recognize either Mr. Sullivan, Attorney Sullivan, or the owner's representative.
Joe Vasta with Marquee. I'm the owner's representative.
And I've given Mr. Vasta's permission to speak.
Thank you, moderator. So I just want to clarify a couple things. I appreciate Mr. Moderator, the board, and you good people of Rockland. Webster Park Nursing has been part of the community and serving its residents for decades. In 2013, Marquee took over. In 2017, we completed a major renovation and addition to the building. I want to emphasize the addition, while it did add more patient rooms, what we did was we reduced our quads and 3 patient rooms to singles and doubles. So we did not increase the occupancy within the building with the addition. The parking issue has always been an issue prior to our addition. And what we had done was, when we were investing this money in our renovations and additions, we were under the impression, and perhaps wrongly so, but at the time, under the impression that we can purchase the lot across the street, take the abandoned house down, and convert that into a parking lot. And so then we had pursued that and then ran up against a couple of hurdles. So we own the lot across the street currently. We would convert that to a parking lot. As Mr. Sullivan said, what we would do is we would just have that for employee parking only. The problem now is with the residents within the building, their visitors, friends, family come, and there's no place for them to park. They end up parking on Webster Street. We have the post office about 50 yards away. That's always congested. Now we have elderly people visiting elderly people, parking on Webster, getting their walkers out of the car on Webster Street and trying to walk around. It's just a very hazardous situation for our visitors. And so we would put our employees across the street, have the visitors park within our lot, and then move forward that way. And any conditions, as Mr. Sullivan said, that the board would recommend along the way, we would be happy to consider.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ma'am, did you want to speak?
Briefly, my name is Deborah King. I live on Webster Street. I wanted to let people know that 2 years ago, my mother passed away at Webster Park, and my sister didn't make it in to say goodbye to her because she couldn't get a parking spot. And this was before they even decided to put the parking lot across the street. So I hope everybody approves it.
No,
So
they just
the next
need to make
person
sure
will say
there's
goodbye.
2/3 vote.
Yeah.
I mean, the amended motion's on the floor, it is what it is. Okay.
I have a... Yes, sir. I will let you speak, but then I'm going to... Go ahead. You got to come up to the microphone. State your name and address.
Bob Konchak, 9 Rockland Court. I have a question. If we approve this lot, will there be some sort of parking restriction then in that section of Webster Street, either through some town committee or the planning zone, or somebody could address that?
Chief Llewellyn? He wanted to know if they did get the parking lot, would there be some sort of parking restriction set forth by the town to eliminate this continued future problem if they were approved for this parking lot?
John Llewellyn, Chief of Police. Tough question to answer, depending again on what the congestion is going to be left on Webster Street. I know we've talked with the Highway Department, the Fire Department's on board. We've talked about crosswalks, lighted crosswalk signs, so you push the button before you cross. So a lot of safety issues would be put into place. So it's hard to assume how many cars will be left based upon the size of the parking lot. So tough to estimate.
Chief Duffy?
Mr. Moderator, Scott Duffy, 86 Stanton Street, Fire Chief. I had a very similar question, and I believe if we do pass this and allow this parking lot to go, we have to ensure that we do place parking restrictions in front of the 56 Webster Street or Webster Park in order to maintain the open roadway.
Anything further, Mr. Llewellyn? Chief?
I do believe that's by the vote of the Board of Selectmen at that point to restrict roadways and change speeds and that sort of thing. So I would suggest we bring that before the board.
I'd like to speak.
I'm just going to say, I don't believe the board has any objections to doing this. We understand that the planning board has their job to do, but just because something was never done before, doesn't mean it can't be done now. I hear that all the time. Quite frankly, it's a bad thing to say. You know, one change doesn't send the town down the drain or anything else, but it can help us alleviate some of the traffic problems in that area. Is it going to be the ultimate relief? Probably not. There's probably other things we're going to have to do. But this is a good start, and quite frankly, I think that the town of Rockland needs more parking to get the cars off the street, especially along Webster Street where it's so congested. And anytime you go over to the post office, you open your door, you're liable to get a ticket right off. So the Board of Selectmen have no objections to this going forward.
Any few? Yes, ma'am. Are you a resident of the town?
I am a resident of the town.
Okay. State your name and address.
Regina Brown, 64 Willow Pond Drive, Rockland. I work at Webster Park. I am the Director of Nurses. I am here to represent the patients, the families, our neighbors, our emergency vehicles, the children. We have a huge parking problem. We just want everyone to be safe. We want family members to be able to visit their living relatives, let alone their dying relatives. We want the neighbors to be able the kids to get out on the sidewalks and ride their bikes to the center of town and support the local businesses. We want it to be safe for everybody. We want the emergency vehicles to get to our neighbors' houses, not just to our place. This is about the community. This is about making it safe for the community. It's about freeing up the traffic on Webster Street and allowing for the safety vehicles to get by and people to have places to park to visit their sick relatives that we're trying to work with and to help.
Mrs. Parsons?
Mary Parsons, 754 Union Street. I just want to say, last year there was an article on to take 16 Webster Street by eminent domain to create a parking lot on Webster Street. I would ask you to approve this.
See? Make it. Yes, sir? See? Motion to move the question. Second? All those in favor of moving the question? All those opposed? That's a vote. All those in favor of adopting the article as amended, And I would try for unanimous. If I don't have it, I'll call my tellers forward. All those in favor of adopting Article 64 as amended, signify with the show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Motion to reconsider Article 64. Second. All those in favor of reconsidering Article 64, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, you have voted not to reconsider. Article 65, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $100,000 to fund the replacement and upgrading of computers and any technology-related expenses or taking any other action relative thereto, submitted by the school department. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. Capital Planning Committee recommends for the capital plan. All those in favor of adopting Article 65, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 66, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $65,700 to fund the fifth year of a 5-year combined lease purchase agreement for two 2015 Ford Transit special education vans in the fourth year of a 5-year combined lease purchase of 4 2016 Ford Transit special education vans, and the third year of a 5-year combined lease purchase agreement for one 2017 Ford Transit wheelchair accessible special education van and one 2017 Ford Transit special education van, or take any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. The Capital Planning Committee recommends per the capital plan. All those in favor of adopting Article 66, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 67, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds the sum of $7,705 to fund the fourth year of a 5-year lease purchase agreement for a 2016-15 passenger multi-function school activity bus, or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 67, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 68, will the town vote to raise and appropriate, take from available funds a sum of $11,026 to fund the fourth year of a 5-year lease purchase for a 2017 F-350 dump plow truck, or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 68, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $200,000 to fund the repaving of the Essex School driveway and parking lots, or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends passing the article over. All those in favor of passing over Article 69, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 70, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $42,000 to fund the purchase of a new marked police vehicle with town of Rockland specifications for the Rockland Public School Security Resource Officer, or take any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends passing over Article 70. All those in favor of passing over Article 70, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Will the town vote to authorize the sewer commissioner to take from the sewer department unreserved fund balance account of a sum of $100,000 to be expended by the sewer commissioner as part of the town's ongoing program to identify and remove sources of inflow and infiltration as required under the terms of the NPDES permit issued to the town by the United States EPA and Massachusetts DEP, or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose of the town is mandated by an EPA administrative order to have an ongoing inflow and infiltration program. Finance Committee recommends funding from sewer fund balance. Capital Planning Committee recommends for the capital plan. All those in favor of adopting Article 71? All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 72, will the town vote to authorize the sewer commissioner to take from the sewer department unreserved fund balance account a sum of $75,000 to be expended by the sewer commissioner for the rebuild of the #1 secondary clarifier program at the wastewater treatment plant, or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose of the clarifier is 40 years old and has exceeded its operational life. Finance Committee recommends funding from sewer fund balance. Capital Planning Committee recommends for the capital plan. All those in favor of adopting Article 72? All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 73, will the town vote to authorize the sewer commission to enter into a contract for the operation and maintenance of the Rockland wastewater treatment facility for a 5-year term with option of 2 5-year extensions, or to take any other action relative thereto. Massachusetts 30B, Section 12B requires a vote at town meeting. The purpose of the operation and maintenance of the sewer plant, Finance Committee recommends as presented. All those in favor of adopting Article 73? All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 74, will the town vote to authorize the sewer commissioners to take from the sewer department unreserved fund balance account the sum of $100,000 for the completion of the comprehensive wastewater management plan or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose, the original plan was constructed in 1964. The plan would review the plant equipment, processes, and the necessary upgrades to ensure the compliance with the town's NPDES permit. Finance Committee recommends funding from sewer fund balance. Capital Planning Committee recommends for a capital plan. All those in favor of adopting Article 74? All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 75, will the town vote to authorize the Water Commission to take from the water undesignated fund balance the sum of $275,000 for the purpose of paving the remaining roadways disturbed by the recent water main project or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose of the recent water main reconstruction project has been completed and there are remaining roadways to be paved. Finance Committee recommends funding from water fund balance. Capital Planning Committee recommends for a capital plan. All those in favor of adopting Article 75? All those opposed? That's a vote. Will the town, Article 76, will the town vote to authorize the Water Commission to take from the water undesignated fund balance the sum of $67,500 with a like amount from the town of Abington for the purpose of engineering to evaluate and design either the upgrading or replacement of the Rice Avenue water storage tanks or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose, the tanks due to age are in need of major upgrades or replacement. Finance Committee recommends funding from water fund balance. Capital Planning Committee recommends for the capital plan. All those in favor of adopting Article 76, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 77, will the town vote to authorize the Water Commissioners to take from the water undesignated fund balance a sum of $20,000 with a like amount of the town of Abington for the purpose of purchasing and updating both treatment and distribution safety equipment or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose, equipment needed for the protection of the employees. Finance Committee recommends funding from water fund balance. All those in favor of adopting Article 77? All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 78, the town vote to authorize the Water Commission to take from water undesignated fund balance the sum of $95,000 with a like amount from the town of Abington for the purpose of redeveloping and updating the treatment, SCADA, and water quality monitoring system to take any action relative thereto. Purpose, the systems have become aged and we are updating with modern technology. The Finance Committee recommends funding from water system development fees. Capital Planning Committee recommends for a capital plan. All those in favor of adopting Article 78, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 79, will the town vote to authorize the Water Commission to take from the water undesignated fund balance the sum of $30,000 for the purchase of making the second payment on the 5-year lease to purchase agreement for a backhoe front end loader or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose, they entered into the lease in fiscal year 19. Finance Committee recommends funding from water system development fees. All those in favor of adopting Article 79? All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 80, will the town vote to authorize the Water Commissioners to take from the water undesignated fund balance a sum of $15,000 for the purpose of continuing the survey and testing in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts drinking water regulations governing cross connections to our water system 310 CMR 22.22 or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose, under the Massachusetts drinking water regulations, we are required to perform these surveys and test annually. Finance Committee recommends funding from water system development fees. All those in favor of adopting Article 80? All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 81, will the town vote to authorize Water Commission to take from the water undesignated fund balance a sum of $20,000 with a like amount from the town of Abington for the purpose of heating and ventilation upgrades to the Hannigan Water Treatment Plant or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose, the rooftop heating units have aged and need replacement. Finance Committee recommends funding from water system development fees. All those in favor of adopting Article 81 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 82, the town vote to authorize Water Commissioners to take from the water undesignated fund balance a sum of $10,000 for the purpose of continuing the annual leak detection and survey program or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose, annually perform leak detection through the town, provide yearly detection and underground leaking mains. Finance Committee recommends funding from water system development fees. All those in favor water meters or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose of the ongoing meter program. Finance Committee recommends funding for water system development fees. All those in favor of adopting Article 83, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 84, the town vote to authorize water commissioners to take from the water undesignated fund balance a sum of $32,000 for the purpose of sick leave buyback for Dan Callahan, or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose is a contractual obligation under retirement. The Superintendent Dan Callahan will retire on July 5th, 2019. The Finance Committee recommends funding from the water system development fees. All those in favor of adopting Article 84, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. And Dan Callahan is here tonight. He served, I don't know, I've been retired for a number of years. He was there a time before that. We've enlarged the reservoir and provided water. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed your retirement. Article 85, will the town vote to raise an appropriate transfer from available funds a sum of $2,500 to replenish sand at Hudson Park Pond, or take any other action relative to this, submitted by the Youth Commission. The Finance Committee recommends funding for free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 85, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 86, will the town vote to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds a sum of $9,600 for the replacement of the roof on the existing bathhouse at Hudson Park, and take any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 86, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. And before I do Article 87, I appreciate everyone that came out tonight and stayed. We didn't do too bad for almost 100 articles, give or take. So I really appreciate coming out. I know the Bruins were on, the Celtics were on, the Red Sox. What is the score of the Bruins? Somebody must know. 2-0 Bruins, okay. Article 87, will the town vote to raise...
A hand for the moderator.
Article 87, will the town vote to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds $100,000 to the other post-employment benefit trust account, or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends funding from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 87, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. I need a motion to dissolve. Motion to dissolve the town meeting. Second. All those in favor?